Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Team Nightmare here, James Rodriguez speaking. I'm going to be talking about my Harpie deck that I ran this past weekend at Arizona Regional. I tried to get top 8 again. Unfortunately, I scrubbed out in the last few rounds. I'll talk about my tournament report after I do my deck profile, though. So, getting straight in here, I ran one Zephyro still. Combos really well with Party, try to OTK and it fails, you can bounce your party back and secure it for next turn. Or plays like activating Sign to search your Elegant Egotist, bounce Sign back to hand so you can discard near your opponent's turn using one of these two cards. 3 Channeler, of course, the most broken card on the deck, I believe. 1 Dancer still. I tested running multiples. I just hate opening more than 1 Dancer, just opening Dancer in general. It's really weak on its own. The only purpose for me that it serves in the deck is to burn through my opponent's back row. And since I'm planning on playing a lot of dragons later in the round who do have back row but not as many as other rogue matchups, Dancer isn't as optimal to open. 3 Lady 1. I like this better than any of the other ones you can run. It allows you to OTK real easily with Party and boost your Draco Sack, your Chidori, and the tokens as well. And lastly for Harpies, 3 Queens, 1900 beat stick, and searches your field spell. So 1 Pet Dragon. I decided to drop this down to 1. I actually swapped out my secret rare for my Ultra, which actually helped quite a bit, so I didn't open it as much. For some reason that secret rare draws like a Hobby League, so that solved that problem that I had last regional. The main purpose I ran 2 in the first place is because I just kept opening the secret. And lastly for monsters, 2 Mexes. Knowing my regional, there are a lot of rogue matchups, and I did want main deck answers for dragons, but I didn't want to have too many dead draws against the rogue matchups, which actually served to my benefit, considering I only played 2 dragons out of 8 rounds of Swiss. For spells, 1 Book of Moon. A lot of people are maining Trap Stun and 7 Tool, so it's a really good non-trap out to a field setup to get around big monsters as well. 1 Elegant Egotist. I didn't like this card that much, to be honest. I think it's still good to run, but most of the time I didn't search for Elegant Egotist off of my sign. I usually only use it if I drew into it because I have so many ways to discard sign. I'd rather get the plus, 2 off a sign rather than just get the 1 for 1 with sign. So 3 Fill Spell, really good against rogue matchups, like I've said before. You just pile through your opponent's back row, and there's not much they can do if they don't have trainable traps. And 3 Hysteric Sign, one of the most broken cards in the deck. It really sets up combos early in the game and can really get you in the game. And it sets you up for an OTKs really early in the game. 2 MST, I feel like the MST is main decked. A lot of people like to check and main deck cards, and MST is just one way to counter that, as well as still wars against dragons. You can pop the ravine to keep your hunting ground still alive. And 3 Potted Dualities just for consistency and to search for combo pieces, as well as cards you side deck in. Sometimes you don't open up with an answer, and Duality is one way to get to that answer. For 1-ofs, I have Compulse, Mirror Force, and Torrential. I didn't run Bottomless because I'm main decking 3 Imperial Iron Walls, and I've just never really been a fan of Warning. Paying 2,000 life points for me is just not worth it in a meta where dragons can OTK so easily. So 3 Hysteric Party. Why wouldn't you run your best OTK card in the deck at 3 of? Usually if I resolve the party with 4 or more Harpies in grave, I pretty much won that game. So 3 Imperial Iron Walls, main deck dancers to dragons. Also, I chose to swap this out over Vanities, primarily because this card hurts dragons more, I think, and it's harder for them to answer. And also, knowing that I'm planning to go to top 8, I was expecting to see Evil Swarm, Constellars, Illusions, and Dragons in the later rounds, so this Imperial Iron Wall hits all those decks in some way, so that isn't as it did a card. And 3 Magical Hats still. I still like Magical Hats. Against my matchups where Imperial Iron Wall was dead, I would usually grab 1 Imperial Iron Wall and 1 Sign. That way I can pull out those dead cards early on and not risk drawing into them. That was one purpose that magical hats serve, besides obviously triggering sign. However, I did notice this weekend that a lot of players, since they know me personally now, and they know my tech cards, magical hats wasn't as optimal, wasn't as much of a surprise to players, so the smart players would actually play around hats, and sometimes hats become dead, which was unfortunate. So because of that, I might be reducing hats down to one or two of. I still like it as a way to trigger sign early in the game, but it's just no longer a surprise factor, so it's not as good. And lastly, Tuning Blast. Again, a way to trigger sign and just disrupt my opponent and set them behind turns, like I do with my Chidori. One thing I might change also would be adding Icarus attacks. I found that not having that disruption actually hurt quite a bit in a lot of my matchups. A lot of times I'd rather just have an Icarus attack to answer multiple things. For side deck, 2DD Crow, I didn't side into it at all. It was mostly there for mirror match to get rid of the sign, as well as against assault mode, which I didn't play. So 2D Bunk, I side this in against fusions, decks that side in a lot of hand traps, or I know have a lot of hand traps against my decks. It can stop the Swift Scarecrow, the Veiler, or the Maxi against you. Against fusions, you can stop their Crane and Honest, which they search out pretty much instantly. So, and also against dragons. So. I also ran 2 Divine Wrath on the side. This is a really good answer to a lot of different rogue matchups. It also discards sign, triggered sign, so it's really good. Another answer to assault mode, which again I didn't play. This is just kind of one of those catch-all counter traps. You need to stop a monster effect. Any state in the game, you can go ahead and stop it in that way. 2 Goes in Match and 2 Rivalry, I include these together just because they're also a catch-all card. No matter what kind of rogue match you're going to play, usually you can hit the deck with one of the two. Goes in pretty much side in against dragons, slows the pace of the game down, doesn't allow them to synchro and exceed as easily at least. And then Rivalry against Evil Swarm, Constellars, and the Dolces. And of course Soul Drains for dragons and Mermo. 2 Overworked. I still like Overworked, even though a lot of people gave me a lot of hate for running Overworked in my last build. A lot of times when I exceed into things that aren't being affected by Overworked, so it usually doesn't hurt me. I use it against Fire Fist. Mass removal is really good against their deck, disrupting their plays, and also against Noble Knights. Depending on what they have equipped, Overworked can really destroy them. And lastly, 2 Trap Stuns. I usually side to 7 game 2 and 3 against almost all my matchups. Just an easy way to secure my game. Usually do a certain standby phase and just pile through the back row with Hunting Ground. So. And lastly, under the extra deck, I ran 1 Abyss Dweller. I feel I still need it for Marmels. I'd rather just have it than not have it, and I usually have room anyways to have it. So 1 Cowboy can secure your game after you go party and attack for game. 1 Gemnite Pearl, monster out, that can't be veilered, so if you need to attack over something, that's one way to do it. 1 Phantasmal Dragon. Usually I bring this out late game against dragons or other decks that once I've known they use all their mass removal or mass negation or what have you, this card can steal game. And if you go into time, it's another way to guarantee your game as well. 2 Ice Beast Aerophane. Pretty much the problem solver of the deck. If your opponent signs anything against you, you can just shut it off with Ice Beast Aerophane. Decrees don't mean anything against you. You know, whatever people try to say, you just go into Aerophane and shut it off. 1 Laval Chain still. Even though I dropped Tempest, I still like Laval Chain in case I do open the Pet Dragon. I can go first turn Laval Chain instead, and then set Zephyros up in the grave for later. And sometimes Foolishing extra Harpies to grave for your party is also kind of nice. 2 Chidori. Like I said in my last video, one of the best cards in the deck as well. Sets your opponent behind, especially in next meta if Gravekeepers become big. This Chidori is just an easy answer to that deck, and that really just destroys them. Maestro, just stalls for the most part. Occasionally you get around monsters if need be. For rank 7s, 1 Draco, 1 Big Eye. I dropped Master of Blades, like I said in my last video. I just didn't like it at all. It did nothing for me. Instead of Master of Blades, I decided to throw in a Black Ship of Corn. More way to put damage on board if need be. Give it a problem cards. Photon Pappy. I usually use this in conjunction with Zerofane to finish off my opponent, especially against dragon matchups where they have the Draco Sack tokens. I can switch their token to attack mode and then do like 4k plus onto their token and usually finish them off, especially if I know they have a Swift or the Battle Fader in hand. That's one way to kill them without wiping their board free. And lastly, one Queen Dragon Degen. I only went into this once, I believe. Because I don't want Summoner Monk, it's really hard to go into a Degen, but it's there for the option in case I burn my pet dragon really early in the game. So other than that, that's pretty much my deck profile. As far as what I actually played this weekend, I went undefeated up until round 5. Round 1 I played Heraldic Dragons, 2-0'd them. I won the die roll and opened Imperial Iron Wall, which actually hurt them quite a bit. Round 2 I played Noble Knights, I beat them in time. I basically went my stroke. Actually, he almost won because of his equip card where you can gain 500 life points each turn, but luckily I had almost OCK'd him before time was called, so I was able to pull that one off just barely. Round 3 I played Boojans, which is actually my teammate. Game 1 opened Imperial Iron Wall, hurt him quite a bit. Game 2 he went Crane plus Honest to deal like 6,000 or something to me. Pretty good. And Game 3 opened Imperial Party for game. Round 4 against Dragon Rollers I opened Imperial Iron Wall. And Game 2 I resolved the party. I think I had Gozen and Draco on board after that point, so he couldn't get around my field. Round 5 was my first loss against Virgia. I was running a similar build to, I forget his name, Sam Patego, I think that's how you pronounce it. He had some of his own tech choices, but Game 1 I went Magical Hat, C7, he used 7 tools of the Bandit, and that locked me out of the game. I had parties and stuff set with no Harpie monsters, so I really needed that to resolve. I had a Zerofane. No, I had Zephyr set. Round 6, I played Constellars. Game 1, I went open Draco Sack. Game 2, he used non-aggression area. I had no trap cards in the back row, so he finished me off the next round. And then Game 3, I had Draco Sack Party again. So round 7, I played Boojans. He won the die roll. Game 1, he went double Kaiser Coliseum. I just couldn't put pop through it, which is one reason why I felt that I need Icarus Attack again. Game 2, I went first, of course, and I had double party for game. And Game 3, he went first. I opened up Magical Hats, and so the next turn around I activated Magical Hats. He changed Compulse, and judges ruled that Magical Hats wouldn't resolve. So from there, he went into the new Fusion Exceed. I forget his name, Misizuki, something like that. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly. But anyways, he milled Turtle, Centipede, and Quillen, one of each of the Banishers, which is really freaking good. And he banished Centipede to destroy my face-down party, and at that point, that was too much of an egg for me to do anything, so I ended up winning that one. At this point, I couldn't top 8 anymore because of my record in tiebreakers. I actually played up one of my friends. We ended up playing it out, but I'm glad he won this last round. He still needed an invite and already had mine, so there's no benefit for me to actually win that last match. So overall, everything went okay. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go to ARG St. Louis. I'm having some car trouble, so money's going there. However, I will be at Anaheim Regionals, so keep an eye out for me there. I'm going to be changing my build a little bit for their meta. And I have some other videos coming up, so comment, rate, subscribe, and talk to you guys later. Peace.